show you today a little bit about working with bronze and brass. A lot of people have been asking me about this subject because the prices of silver have went so high, and plus it's just a really, really beautiful metal to work with. You know, that beautiful yellows before you get into the golds or gold filled. So what I want to show today is, of course, the gorgeous, I'm going to show a gorgeous gem-filled gems, setting a gemstone using foils in the back and not using a cutout, but using brass and bronze, sheet metal, and filigree wire. And I want to show you this time, I actually researched and I pulled this product out. This is a little review of this bronze wire. This is from Craft Wire, and it works perfectly. It all works like closer between a medium and an easy solder, but I can solder all of my work with this wire, and this is the same, it's close to the same color. It flows a little bit easier. So I go through in here and I talk about, you know, the pros and cons of working with bronze and silver. You need a little hotter flame. You know, it's rewarding. It doesn't move as beautifully. I'm used to silver all the time, but as I'm expanding on my palette of color, you know, it's been really fun exploring these materials. So also I'm going to be using, this is a little bit of a filigree bezel here. So I showed setting a filigree bezel. This is brass, and this is from Cool Tools. You can find a lot of materials in brass, you know, that's kind of fun to work with. If you're not going to use filigree, you just cut really thin bronze or brass sheet metal into what you want for a bezel wire. Think of it that way. You know, maybe I'll do another post if you guys ask me to, you know, just on using all bronze sheet, you know, and getting a piece set and all of that. So this is some of the, you know, some of the bezels or some of the stones that I considered. And I kept the back solid and did on this time a beautiful, beautiful 22 karat gold foil in the back. But also, you guys, one of the things that I'm starting to do is I show a project on the outside, but I expand on it inside my membership. So if you do like these tips that I'm showing you of really working through everything and just talking about what I'm using, join my membership, because I go into more of the details on this subject matter each month. And you get like 2 to 3 years worth of just all of this work inside there. And we have a beautiful community and we meet with each other, so it's growing and growing. The Creativity Collective for Visionaries. So, hey, if you guys like this, please make sure, leave me a comment, like, subscribe, because that helps me to grow. You know, if you think about it, just helps me to grow and get out there and do my thing. So this is all about the creative approach for artists to really get in there and explore and expand your material so you can build and align to do exactly what you want to do in silversmithing. But we're going to start expanding into mixed media and other subjects too. So I hope you guys like this. Hey, so in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about gems, gem setting, what works and what doesn't work. I want to talk about cutting out the back to create light and vibrancy coming through your piece, as opposed to putting foil back behind your gem bezel. So, and then I'm going to actually do a setting for you guys to show you how to do the foil behind a bezel. Super exciting. It's one of my favorite things to do lately. So I have a little selection right here. These are the gems, and I wanted to just show you 4 different sizes here. A lot of different sizes, but this is just this is a honey quartz, which is in the quartz family. And One of the things that I want to talk about is that when you guys see a lot of my videos, you're going to see me working with rounds and oval shapes, because rounds and ovals, and even this teardrop shape, these are simpler, a little bit easier to work with, and especially when I'm showing beginners. You know, when you get up into the square shape, it's a little bit more difficult. So I have this whole course, intentional metalsmithing, and the reason I'm bringing that up is that if you have taken this 6 or 7 part course, you've seen that I work with a medium-sized stones and gems as opposed to teeny tiny and as opposed to large. Because when you start getting into large and small stones, things are just a little bit trickier. You know, you would think that when you get into small, it's going to be easier. But actually, I sometimes charge the same amount of time for my labor for these tiny ones as I do for the medium size. So that's why you see a lot of medium size. I want to get a little bit into on YouTube talking about, you know, showing really how to set, how to do your heat when you're working with a larger, and then also with these tiny ones too, but not today. Today we're going to start with, I want to show you these type of stones here. These all have the foil behind them. These are my reliquary, the hollow forms that I have a lookbook for inside here. But this, these actually have a really beautiful, beautiful color with the foil. So here's a peridot in here. And you know, you really can get some vibrancy. So this is really my favorite way. Even this is a garnet. And you know, it's really one of my favorite ways to bring a shine back up and through to your pieces. So I put these up in the corner here. These are actually the pieces that I use. Oh, this one I don't have a cutout to. But this is Moldavite, and this one is a little bit, when I have a beautiful metal behind here or the foil, I can, you know, when you have a little bit of transparency in here, you can really get the gem to shine out, a gold foil or a silver foil. This type of a piece too, this is actually this is a milky quartz, and this one, if I put a gold or silver depending, or even a copper back behind your head, this is a cutout, you know, and I wanted to show you some of these cutouts. If you actually had black back behind it, it really changes the color of this garnet and the milky quartz. So, you know, sometimes we like it when it's in the open air. There we go. You can see a difference in the shift of color. So you want to think about, you can really see, you know, the vibrancy and the change of colors when you let the light shine through. So you want to decide, you know, sometimes if I just have a long pair of earrings, I'll cut out the back because I know the light's going to be able to shine through on earrings. Maybe on rings, not so much. This one is actually an open. This is a rose quartz that's open, and I think now, you know, it is really pretty and vibrant, but if I did this setting again, I may do a foil back behind it because you can really get it to shine. This is the same type of a stone, and you can see I'm losing a little bit of the color. Sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose. So this is just, I just wanted to give you guys a little talk on foil versus cutting out the back. Now, of course, if you have a piece and you don't bother cutting out the back, don't bother putting a foil under there, don't bother protecting the underside when you're making a bezel, it's going to be oxidized and you'll end up with a black background and your gems will look really dull. So here's a couple gems too. I want to show you these are in settings that are already set. I'm going to bring this one into the picture, so I'll just bring it up and over. This is a piece that I already set, and you can back out a little bit. Adam's doing my film here. So you can see the whole piece a little bit. So this one is all cut out backs. You know, this one lays up against your skin, but the gems in here had enough vibrancy. This is a tourmaline, a rainbow tourmaline. This is a honey quartz, and it's a little deeper stone, a little darker, but it's still, with the back cut out, here I'll show you the back side, it gives you some really nice vibrancy. And here's how I set up the back of my pieces. The back sometimes are just as interesting as the front, you know, and this is how I made everything happen, more of a complex piece. And this piece down here is a green amethyst, back cut out again, so you can see where it really will give you some nice vibrancy. Now, here's two pieces. These are some raw tourmaline that are set with the foils. So just for a little eye candy, zoom in on these babies. These were some, and these were just in my reliquary collection. So if you didn't get a chance, there's a lookbook in there. But you can see the beautiful vibrancy in all three of these stones used here that have the foils in here. Okay, yeah. So that's cool. So that's what we're going to work towards today, you guys. I want to show, and here's this one too, you know, in action. So these you don't have to worry about if it's going to be a ring, if it's going to be a necklace. This stone is actually kind of a neutral color, but so beautiful with that foil behind it. And this one, you know, if you think about it, if you want more of an orange color, you can put a copper foil back behind it or a gold foil back behind it. But these are really kind of, these aren't even faceted, and they bring in a lot of light with that foil. So, all right, you guys, I want to get into making, just setting a stone, and I'm going to show you how to put the foil in place. It's a brand new technique, so if you've seen me do this before, you haven't seen me do it this way. I love, this is one way using foil that I find, you could back that out a little bit, using the foil that is really going to make a difference, you know, I find. This is my silver foil. I actually just got this on Amazon, and it comes in a package like this. Whoops. Just comes in a package like this, and I'm just going to cut it open, and you want to protect your foil. You want to protect your foil once you get it open. I'll pull out one sheet at a time and cut tiny little areas, but this is my foil. It's not going to oxidize. This is a fine silver, so you want to really work with a really high carat gold, like, you know, even a 24 karat or a 22 karat, because you're not going to get the oxidation. And this is absolutely a fine silver because I don't get the oxidation. And in between here are my sheets of foil. So there we go. Fine, fine, fine. So you have to know how to work with this so you don't waste it. They're so thin, and you can cover a whole surface with this technique. But, okay, here we go. Okay, so today I want to get in a little deeper to soldering with, actually, this is both brass. This isn't bronze. I talk about, you know, I have another film where I talk about how to work with bronze. Brass and bronze are very, very similar metals and different alloys, but they're kind of similar in the fact that they both are these yellows, and you know, I showed ways on how to work a sterling silver solder, but I want to show you here. I actually just got a hold just right on Amazon, or actually this is right from Craftwire, and this is there's a 20 gauge cadmium free, and it's by Craftwire, and this is 5 feet of it. You can order on Amazon or from Craftwire. I used to use Craftwire, and they have actually Craftwire has some really good bronze, jeweler's grade bronze, but this is interesting, it's this way. So I did order a little bit of this, and I want to show you guys this project today on how we can really solder with brass. So, and set a bezel and get everything done. You guys have seen that I've been doing a lot more work with brass and bronze, and then putting a coat of then just doing a filler with a 22 karat gold on top of it, you know, that is not that expensive. So I want to show this. This is from Cool Tools, and they have a lot of different bronze bezel wire. You can't really find, I like to show working with a lot of the fine silver. There is no, there is no fine with brass. Brass is kind of a little different to work with. It actually is not as smooth as sterling silver. It's definitely not as smooth as copper, and but it's really fun, and it's a beautiful color, and it's an inexpensive way to solve problems. And I've had so many people asking me to work with bronze and brass just to show them some different ways, because silver is expensive. So this is in the wire form. I'll show you another one, on how you can just use wire by tapping it down at the exact moment and having your whole wire in place. But with this one here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in little pallions again, because I'm used to working in pallions. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my finger in the way, and I'm just cutting tiny pallions like this. and dropping it on. I'm probably just, oh, here, it's still in my hand. There we go. Tiny little pallions, and I have a little stack of them, and I'll just keep them in a separate container. And yes, we need to use flux with, you know, with bronze, when we're using bronze solder. Sorry, sometimes my brain, I start thinking so much about the project. Okay, so I brought in along, this is actually from Cool Tools, and I did show you know, there's other projects in here where I show you how to, you can, if you want to do a nice deep stone, such as one like this, you know, this one actually, if I worked with this, I'd have to put my gemstone upside down because it's the rose cut is so high. So you can solder together 2 pieces of solder, 2 pieces of bezel wire, you just some straight sheet metal, which maybe I'll show in another project, but for this one I'm just going to use some really low dome gemstones. So these were my choices, and I wanted a color that would look beautiful with the brass. So I'm going to take these out of the way. These are actually low, they have a little bit of the facets. These are all the organic shapes where, you know, it's something that I really love. You know, you can't just make a bezel and get it cast, because these really are one of a kind when they're organic shapes, and they're kind of fun to work with. So I'm going to work with one right here, and this is an aquamarine. And when I go to measure out, I'm going to flip it upside down so I can hold the balance on here. And I cut a really nice straight line on my filigree bezel wire, and I'm just going to make sure it's nice and flat. It's a little stiffer to work with, but it's a thin gauge, so I will be able to get this up and around. There we go. Okay. Now this is a thin one, so actually I'm going to pull this in a little bit more. I was right about that. I try to get it as close to the shape as I can. So I'm going to lay this on the top. Just makes it easier. I'm laying this on here. And remember when I told you guys it's just as easy. It's just as easy. This is a smaller type bezel. The hardest part about showing a small bezel is that most of the time you end up just seeing my hands, right? But this is a really nice fit. I can see it in here. The gold is going to look gorgeous with this, you know, with this aquamarine. So let me get my marker. I used it in the last project. Okay. And then I am just going to mark off. I've got it a little bit doubled off over here, and I'm just going to mark off very gently where I need to do my cut. Okay, there we go. Open it up. You can see the black mark right there. And that's where I'm cutting nice and straight with my cutter. So I'm going to cut right here. Straight up and down. You want to make sure you're straight up and down. And then I'm going to see if this works together, and I want to, you know, I want to pull over my bezel wire and push it down with my pliers to get a little spring loaded. I need a little bit of a spring here so it will stay together. And then I need to see if it's sitting right. There we go. This is looking good, guys. Sometimes you have to get in and file and adjust and check the size. Ooh, pretty. I'm thinking that looks good. There's a little bit of movement in there, so I'm not having to push my stone in, but this is going to be a really good fit for my gem. So let me make sure everything is in place. Okay, there we go. And remember, I'm going to actually take my gem, and I have so many times on my table when it's a big mess, like lost my gem, got everything done, it looks so beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in a container and put it off to the side to know that it's special, and that's my aquamarine that I'm using. Okay, let me get this, let me get my solder sprayed with flux and my bronze. And I'm going to come in with the hard solder, and I'm using my acetylene torch. I promise I will start showing more using the butane torch, just because some people ask me. If you guys ever want to see something, make sure you bring it to my attention, because I love showing projects. Let me make sure this is fit. One more time. I love showing projects that people want to see. Right? Why else am I doing it? Sorry. Okay, good. There we go. Okay, I have my marker. I'll move this around for you guys. If you can see, I've got a little bit of marker on the end of my bezel wire. And these are my pieces I'm using. And this, you know, if you end up, when you use sterling silver bezel wire with brass or bronze, you have to be so careful that you do not get one dot of solder that shows up on your piece. So I'm going to come in real small, and I'm just going to grab my solder, bring it into a ball. And you guys can see this is a medium, so I am only using medium solder, and I'm going to bring it to the front. Hopefully, you know, I'm as close as you guys can see. This is kind of like a hit and run too. You don't want to keep it in one spot because filigree is fragile. There we go. Now, I like to actually get in from this side, get a little bit in from this side, make sure my solder goes all the way through. There we go. Okay, you guys, so to give you the critique, this solder, it's a little clunky to work with. This is the first time that I'm working with it, so I wanted to do this, but I can see next time I use this, I would really come from the inside. It works really well. You know, it's put together well. It takes a lot to get this to flow. So you need a little hotter temperature to get it to flow. I'm getting the bottom of my piece sanded so I can get my piece in. Don't want to sand it too much because my bezel is just clearing the top of this, I think. No, maybe not. I decided to use the aquamarine. Okay, so using this again, you know, it's like it's one solder, one flow in here. Okay, there we go. Now let me make sure my edges are right and this is fitting nicely and my shape is appropriate. And that you're just going to do in here. There we go. Get my edges burnished right up to the end. Pushed in. There we go. Okay, beautiful. I'm real happy with that. Looks good. Okay, so the next thing, I didn't have a lot of brass around my studio, but that gold's going to look gorgeous with this aquamarine. Okay, remember I'm putting my stone back in that safe spot. And I'm going to bring my screen onto the table. I like working with my screen so I can get up and under and create heat. So I do have this nice little piece right here. I do have a little, and I'm just going to, I think, make a straight across bezel and not put anything around there. So see this nice, beautiful flush. Get my flux on. And now what I'm going to do is just heat it up a little bit, get it dried up, get this heated a bit. This would be nice if you hand cut your own little, you know, shapes or did some granulation around the sides. That would work well. Okay, I have got my pieces right here. Let me see if I can get these in. Flux a lot of times works a little bit as a glue, so let me see. I might have to use my tweezers to get these in. Tweezers to get these in place. So that's just bringing these shorter little pieces. And this might be what really done beautifully if these are cut a little bit smaller. But all in all, it's going to be a nice job. And remember, we don't need a lot. If you get this hot enough, all the solder will start flowing and you will have your solder flow all the way around your piece. Okay, there we go. I'm going to give it one more little light spritz. And this one I'm definitely going to work up and under. It's going to take a little bit more heat. Brass and bronze take a little bit more heat than fine silver or silver. Let me get it dried, make sure my pieces are up against the walls. So this area, this closest to me is the only place that I don't have solder. Oh no, I do have solder. But really, if you don't have solder everywhere, this will start flowing. Okay. So now I'm going to get up and under my piece by hitting the screen, and you guys will get to watch to see how this solder flows. As soon as this gets hot enough, I am going to, there we go, see that going around? I'm going to quench my pick and get the solder to move. Yep, it's all the way around on this side. There we go, isn't that beautiful? And this is a yellow solder. Looks a little bit light right now, but I could see from the last one, once it's polished, see, now once it starts cooling off, you can see that it is a yellow solder. So this is nice. Whew. I'm going to get this cut out with the jeweler's saw, but this then I just have to put, you know, if I had some different shapes, I'd put some on the top or bottom. I do have a gold piece here, but this actually, it's not going to work with gold fill, you know, of a decorative piece that I could put on here, but this one actually may end up turning silver in the end, because it's just such a light layer of gold on here, but we can try it out. I'm going to go ahead and get this going, and I'm going to use the little piece of granulation with it, and I'm going to just do a little decorative piece right on the top. Okay. Here it is. Here's my piece that I want. No. Okay. Okay, so the way to do this, this is a hollow form, believe it or not. So when you're working with pieces like this, you can see that when I soldered this down, this bezel down to the back, and there really is more than enough solder on here. So I'm just going to try to get a little tiny piece for the top of this. Remember, I'm doing a review of this, so you guys get to see it at the same time as I do. I'm going to put down one little piece here, right at the top. I don't even think I need much. And that's where I'm going to sit this little collection right here. Okay, everybody gets spritzed. And this granulation I'm going to put onto this hollow form, and then I'm going to take both of them united and I'm going to put it down onto my piece here and cut it out with the jeweler's saw. So, what I need first, so I'm going to take a little piece of this. I've got a smaller piece right here. I'm going to take a little piece of this solder right on here, and I'm going to put it onto, let me flip this over, there we go, the back side of my granulation. Voila! And remember, everything is fluxed. Definitely have to flux it. Flip this over, and I'm just going to start heating this gently because this is a hollow form. This really just needs a tiny bit of heat, but I like to heat up the base piece before I put the top piece on. You have to be ready to pull the torch because really it does not, there we go, straightened itself out. That means that it's getting, the solder's flowing, and there we go. Now, because it is a hollow form, I just want to count a couple seconds before I pick it up and move it. So I'm going to give it one more dip into some flux. Let me get this little yellow piece to flow right here. You can see how I'm hovering my component right above where I'm going to place it. Yep. Let me push it back a little bit, or that's not going to be any use to anybody. Yeah, I think I made my pieces a little large, but there we go. Oh. I'm just actually hovering this because it just needs a tiny bit of heat. My component is hovering. There it goes. We dropped it. I'm going to place this on here. Make sure it's centered, and then get up and under. I'm going to get my soldering pick now. Get up and under. Nice and simple and easy. But by the time I get this gold-plated piece on, gold-filled, it actually will have come off. So we'll enjoy it as a sterling silver piece. There we go. Everything's down. Okay. So I wait a couple seconds, and then I'm going to quench this. Voila. I think next time I'm going to use less solder, guys. Like I said, this is the first time that I used it, but don't worry, I can get this scratched off. I'm going to use my jeweler's saw. By the time I get this cut off, it's not up on my bezel. The only way that the solder ran was around the sides. So I'm still safe. You won't be able to see much of the solder once I have my piece on here. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to just put some, either do a cutout on here or some foil, even on the back of here. So you can see how we can bring out the best of the qualities in using brass with gems. Okay, I'm going to pickle this and get it sawed out.
Okay, go.
Okay, there's my piece out of the pickle. And you know what I wanted to bring up to you guys? Like when you're working with brass or bronze, this actually is a bronze sheet, but when you put in the pickle, it brings out a lot of the copper. So when you're going to see brass and bronze looking beautiful is after you get it polished up and all cleaned up, and you'll get, a nice color. Otherwise, the copper is coming up to the surface. So what I'm doing, I'm just going around with my wire brush and just cleaning up the edges, you guys can see I have a little bit of excess solder, but at least it is in the right color combo, right? And then this is the scratch pen that I use. This is even on the inexpensive tool. This is one of my tools that I love and can't live without because it just gets into all these little places, and I can do it by hand. Okay, so here's my jeweler's saw. I've got an 03 in here, and I'm just going to get this, you want to get this super tight, so I have it clipped in up here, and I'm just going to lean into it and clip it up on the back end. And when you can hear a noise like this, it means you have it tight enough. And I'm going to put a little bit of lube on here to get moving and get into my work. So when you approach it, you just want to relax. I love actually this bench pin a lot more because I can really get in, and you want all sides to be supported when you're using your jeweler's saw. And this particular bench pin helps me to do that. So I'm going to hold my thumb here and just work my way in gently. I'm using the length of the saw, staying close to my lines and working very slowly, taking my time, not putting any pressure on my blade, and let my tool work itself. I'm just helping it, that's all. Your left hand is the one that works a little harder. Okay, now comes the part where I just have to very gently work my way around these beautiful little hollow form granulation that have not collapsed, I'm proud to say. There we go. I set this all the way at the top so I can get in this way. And then when you have a precarious corner like this, you're just going to hold it in the same space. Plan on going up and down quite a few times. And then you'll be ready to go this direction. Okay. It's all about the support system. All about the lube, all about gently using your saw. Voila. You always want to loosen your saw blade when you're finished so you can use this blade over and over again. And voila, here is my beautiful, beautiful piece. The only thing I have to do, well, right now I'm actually going to clean up my sides a little. I use my jeweler's wheel. You can use a file. You can use your Dremel. But I need to get a piece of wire. And I do have some 20 gauge bronze wire, jeweler's grade. All of this type of, I get all this type of material I get from Parawire for years and years. I used to actually sell this with, when I had ice resin back years ago. So this is part of my wholesale line years ago, but I don't have it anymore. Okay, so what I want to just do is create, you know, just a space where I can hang this piece. I'm looking for my snips. Oh, here they are. I want to get nice straight edges. I'm going to solder this down, and after I get this soldered down, you guys, we're going to come back here, and I want to show you, remember I have an aquamarine, but I use different foils for backing that I forgot to even mention at the front. This is actually, this is a gold foil to use that is from the same company that I order my silver from. So this is a gold. So I can see actually if I want to use, there's different stones that would look amazing. Like look at this. This is a rose quartz. I can do, ooh, this one is beautiful. I wish I had done, if I had done a honey quartz, this honey quartz would be beautiful with the gold foil. I used a aquamarine. And so this really gives your stone some vibrancy. That is really pretty. But I was thinking about using a silver foil just to really let it stand out from the brass setting. So we'll see. Oh no, I think, you know what, I'll probably show using the gold. Let me show using the gold. You guys will see how that works. This is the name of the company, just in case. That's where I got my silver foil and my gold foil. Okay, so in the meantime, I have to do one more solder, and then I can pickle it, and I can get ready to put the foil on. So back to my soldering board. Okay, I'm going to put some flux on here, and here's the piece I want, and I have a little bit of the solder already cut, and that is my brass solder. So get in here. I'm not going to turn it up high. You can see the brass, you guys. Once I polished it up a little bit, you can see that it's actually getting rid of the copper that came to the surface. So it's all going to be good. Okay, I'm going to get my locking pliers here. Let me get this quenched for a second in the flux. Yes, I do quench my piece in the flux. Somebody had asked me about that. Wanted to be a little intimidating, and I was like, yeah, this is what I do, absolutely. And then see that I just actually can get my solder to ball right up on here. Now, let me make sure it's going to clear on both sides. Let me push it in the tiniest of bits. There we go. Now see also what this clamp does. It takes up a little bit of my heat, so I don't have to have a lot of worries about a piece getting overheating and melting. So I need 95% of my heat is going on to my bezel, and see how I'm just hovering this above. And when I see it getting warm enough, I can lay this piece down, and I'm heat from far away, but you can see it. There you go. See that? Was a little bigger pieces. Next time, I'm going to cut smaller pieces. These, I just want you guys to be able to see these. You can't go too ridiculously small. Okay, I have my whole piece in tow. Now see, maybe if I don't like the way that it's sitting, I can bend it and move it at this point. Bend it outwards a little. Shape it. get it shaped in. Okay. So once I get it to the shape that I want it, this top part, I want to leave a lot of clearance because I do have this beautiful little piece. You can see I heated up my solder a little bit more. I like to heat up my solder sometimes to put a wire around the sides, but now I'm going to pickle this, I'm going to get it shaped, and then I'm going to show you putting in some gold foil and setting my stone. Okay, you guys, so remember I was telling you, when you're working with your piece, don't be alarmed if it looks like it's copper, because, you know, this is just the way that bronze and brass works. It just looks, the copper comes out more so than when you're working with sterling silver. But look at that. That's when you're using you're using a solder that matches the color of your brass. So I'm really happy the color of it. Okay, so on the inside, there is liver sulfur in there, but remember, I'm going to put the foil on because it's really going to help my bezel to stand out. And I, you know, even though I'm doing this aquamarine, this is going to be good with the gold foil. So we'll check it out and see. Okay, this product, you guys, is what I love to use. It's a gilding adhesive, and whenever you're sealing the inside when you have a clear stone, you have to put some type of sealant in there anyway, whether it's you know, there's just all types of really thin, really they're adhesives, but to cover the inside, because you don't want the inside really getting collecting a lot of, you know, just dark, where it oxidizes and turns dark on you, because then it makes your stone dark. So here we are here. I have a little bit of this on here, and you guys can see how it has this little bit of an electric blue color. So it's nice with this color because you'll see it on here. I'm going to put it in the bottom of my bezel and also around the sides of the bezel too, because on the inside you want it to be this beautiful, bright, sealed off golden color too. Now, I'm seeing on film it looks way more blue than it really does in person. But the nice thing about this blue color is that you, when the blue color disappears is when your bezel is ready to have the foil lifted up from it. So while this is on here, it's gonna dry, but what I want to do in the meantime, I cut off a little piece of the gold foil, and actually a big piece of the gold foil. I'm just gonna lay this in here, and this is just gonna sit in here until my piece dries. But when it does dry, it gets stickier. It gets a little stickier, and I'm using the back of a marker because it's plastic, it's not metal. I can get this to really stay here on the adhesive. And I'm just gonna let this dry. I'm gonna come in here, whoops. I'm gonna come in here with the back of a paintbrush. Work it down a little bit more, make sure it's in all the corners and up against the side. And this really is gonna take about 5 minutes to dry. And when this does dry, I can lift it off, and we're gonna see a beautiful golden background in here. So let's give it a little bit of time, and I'll rip it off in just about 5 minutes. Okay, so here's the big reveal, and here's what I did. I actually found even a better tool, you guys, which is just a stick to really get in here in the edges. So, you know, I love using inexpensive tools. I really do. That's what I'm all about. Okay, so I'm gonna get in, and it is time to peel off. And I'm going to come in from this way. Look, I already have the top loosened off. And what should happen, it's sticky enough, and you guys can see from that angle, it's sticky enough where it should stay down. Hang on, let me make sure. Oh, yeah. That's the bezel wire. So it's, see, when it comes off clean, although this one isn't coming off too clean. I just did one that was beautiful. Okay. This one didn't come off too clean, so what I'm going to do is put this piece on here and just gently work its way down. Okay, get into the corners. And I'm even going to fold over this excess that we have here. Okay. Okay. So now we've got the foil on the inside. Don't worry about cleaning and tipping it up yet. We're going to put the stone in. I don't think, this is where I make sure that I wash my stone, make sure everything is set. And let me see the shape in the back. Okay, the small part goes up top. And I'm going to set it in here. Oh, you know what? I need a little riser in here, but the foil is beautiful. So if I do need a riser, if you go inside the membership, I show you so many different ways to do risers. But this is the easiest way to do a riser. Hold on a second. I'm just going to actually, to raise up my piece, I use, this actually is from craft wire also. So this will not, the same as the solder. This is another type of craft wire. And I'm just really bending this to shape. Make sure I get it shaped. Doesn't have to be exact. The long bezel. Just bending it to shape, and then I'm going to cut it right here. And I'm going to sit this inside my bezel so I can get a riser, get it to raise up a little bit. And of course you can do gold if you wanted to, or your bronze wire. I'm just used to doing, bronze wire will work perfect in here. I'm just going to hit this a little bit with the mallet to make sure it really is going to stay flat in all areas. It sets your stone wrong if you don't make sure this is perfectly flat. You don't have to solder it, but you do want it to be perfectly flat all around. So let's see how nicely that's going to fit. Very nicely. Love when things work out very nicely. Okay, so now again, I'm coming back to dropping my stone in. Let's see if that's going to give me a good amount of height with my piece. Beautiful. See that? So this actually, I'll have a little bit of the gold in here, and because I actually put in a white, the white color. Oh my God, it's beautiful though. Can you see the color that we're getting here? Okay, now you have to be very careful. I'm going to hold my stone in here. What that wire does too, it helps hold the rose cut, the part that it comes to a point. It's going to hold it where very steady and still. And I'm just going to hold it nice and flat. I'm not going to damage it on the front, and I'm just going to go around in a few areas and bring my edges over just a little bit. You want to start, you don't want that to happen either, but okay, up in here, just bring it all over a little bit. I don't have it secured down yet. And make sure your bezel wire is straight. Make sure everything is flat all the way around. And this keeps you from prematurely pushing one side down more so than the other side. And this is a filigree wire. Again, and I'm just going to go work it around. Bring it up over. You do not want to touch your steel to the stone, or you're going to end up doing some damage. And then when I get to this part where everything is secure, I need to work it down a little bit more. But what I need to do is just brush it with my steel brush. We'll use a bronze one. I'm just going to get in and brush off the rest of this little bit of foil that I don't need. Ooh, this is looking gorgeous, you guys. Wow. I'm glad I actually used the gold. I wasn't going to do it because I thought the contrast would be nice. Okay, so now that I've got my stone set in here, I really want to go around and burnish it, which means to kind of, it's creating a little bit of heat with you on your steel from your metals rubbing together. It creates a little bit of heat, and that helps to burnish it over so it can hug your stone and stay in place and never come undone. And remember, the more I work my metal, I am hardening it. I'm work hardening it. So it's actually going to stay in place even better. So while it's, at the beginning it starts off dead soft and annealed, and then it just takes this little bit of work where it's hardening it so it's not going to come undone. It looks beautiful. I have everything in place, and I'm pretty much liking this beautiful piece. with the aquamarine. The end. I want to give you a little review on this project that's coming up. It was really exciting to do and opened up doors for me, and maybe this would open up doors for you. It really is a bronze solder, and it's soldering with brass and bronze. So I actually found bezel wire in bronze, and I'm using, brass, brass sheet metal and brass filigree bezel wire here in this project, and I'm using this craft wire, and I wanted to just give a little review about it. You guys are going to see how I'm soldering with it. This is the first time I worked with it. I did a couple more pieces since then, you know, and I'm realizing this is a medium, called a medium, and you can find this on Amazon. It's a 20 gauge cadmium free, and it's made by Craft Wire, but I feel like it was a little bumpy to work with. If you're used to working with, as a silversmith, it's a little bumpier to work with. I feel like I can get the hang of it. The color is beautiful when you're done, but it's so interesting because when you're working with different grades of bronze and brass, there's different alloys that are put into all these materials. So before I'm pickling them, I'm seeing a number of different colors come up. So you really have to get in there and polish your piece up nicely. And in the end, I did find that I have a beautiful piece where all the colors work together and it looks similar together. So yes, the solder does really work, but it's a little bumpier. You just need a tiny little bit. I'm using a little bit too much, but I had never used this product before. But you know, I went in and I did a few projects since then, and I really, really like it. It looks a lot better than when you're using silver solder with your pieces. So in here also, I wanted to show you guys, I actually wanted to show using some gold foil. This is a gold foil that I have here. You want to be really careful with it. I showed you a real cool way to get this to stick down, and how it really can make your pieces vibrant. I used aquamarine gems in this case. So I think with this one, you can see how the gold really works with it. And then I have a piece next to it where I used aquamarine using silver with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project. Here it is coming up, and if you guys like more and more, I put in an extension and a bigger project into my membership. So, you know, like, subscribe, and if you want to check out my membership, it's $25 a month. It's really fun, and we get into a lot more with growing your silversmithing skills and growing your creativity skills. Inside Creativity Collective, we work in a group, so enjoy.